saying? So this is the infiltration of us doing the work. That's all it is, bro. Get ready. You know what I mean?
Now, if y'all have not, make sure you guys are following Newstoter.com. I laid out much information today. So, I mean, everything from news to politics to entertainment. Unfortunately, we had a young brother that died in an NFL overdose. So we was laying out major content today, man. I mean, the curation was in full cycle today. You guys, make sure you go to the profile page at Newstoter on Twitter, and you will see that we have all kind of articles. Just scroll down, and you should run into a lot of content, man. And we're gonna be talking about child support tonight with Judge Joe Brown, talking about the effects of it also in the Black community, talking about the origins of child support. So we're going to be talking about a number of things tonight, man. We're going to be talking about a number of things. And, I'm excited talking about inflation, gas prices. We're going to see what's going on tonight. And I definitely can't wait. Like I said, the judge will be coming in around 9:30. He said he will be in. He'll be finishing up his other interview. So you guys just hang tough. He will be in here. Definitely appreciate everybody that's in the spot right now. We definitely appreciate that. So, thank you guys for all coming through. Like I say, any of you guys in here, go ahead also and tweet out the space too. Tweet out the space to your followers. Definitely do that. Go ahead and tweet out the space to your followers. Let them know where it's going to be going down tonight. It's going to be going down here in the Newstoter, in the Newstoter's Twitter space. We're going to have us a nice Twitter space for the night. So everybody that gets a chance, make sure you guys come in here and check us out, because like I said, our Twitter space is going to be really nice tonight. Whenever we get Judge Joe Brown in here, it's always a great space. It's always something worthwhile. So please make sure you go ahead and tweet out the space for us. And DJ, I know you said something about Vicky Dillard was going on. What happened there?
Yeah, I'm not even sure what's up with that situation. It seemed like she blocked all her YouTube moderators, and I don't know, it seemed like some internal beef, but that's the game, man. You know what I mean?
Okay. King LA, go ahead and unmute your mic, brother.
No, I was gonna say, look, y'all talking about child support. I'm definitely gonna be added to the conversation, so it's gonna be times I'm gonna be raising my hand about it. Just want to let you know. I'm gonna go ahead and mute my mic.
Oh, that's cool. Just go ahead and let the judge. That's cool. Go ahead and let the judge. The judge, he gonna elaborate on it or whatever. So definitely, that's what the space is for, man. Because the judge, he's definitely gonna, being a judge, being a lawyer and whatnot, he knows the law and stuff. He also knows about the way child support is structured and everything else. And one of the questions we're gonna ask him tonight definitely is it time to revamp that system. So we definitely gonna. Y'all definitely, that's what y'all supposed to be in the space for, man. Ask them questions, especially when you have somebody of this help coming in. Like, you definitely got to ask questions and, get some advice and see what it do and whatnot. So we're going to talk about inflation. We're going to talk about the rising gas prices, all of that stuff, man. I mean, this is what Twitter space is for. Like, if you guys have not followed Newstoter, make sure you guys are following Newstoter. Definitely do that. Largest Black-owned news curation news aggregator site in America, Black-owned. So make sure you guys show some support, show some love for us. Do what it do. Make sure you guys keep us always bookmarked. Newstoter needs to be. We need to be one of your main media outlets. I ain't say we need to be the only one, but we sure need to be. We sure need to be one of the main ones. That's for certain. You definitely need to go ahead and add us to that list of valuable news sources, because we come with, like I said today, I don't know, over 20 some odd articles, man. I don't know how many was curated today. It was a lot. It was over 20. We put a load in there. So definitely go ahead and check it out, man. We put it out there. Like I say, everything from business to news to politics to education. I don't know if any of you guys saw it, but the ex Tallahassee mayor and guy who ran for Florida governor, Andrew Gilliam, got busted for some fraud or whatever. So, it's crazy, man. DJ, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, I was just about to get on the politics, man. Ever since Marcel lost, you got the trolls coming out the woodwork, yo. Where was the vitriol in the A when he was running? Y'all waited for the man to lose to come out and pop junk. Like, come on, y'all trash and corny for that. Marcel 2024, let's get it. And yeah, the Andrew Gilliam, he been down ever since he got busted in that hotel room with the other homies in the cocaine. So his career been over with.
Yeah, and this dude could have just stayed a damn mayor here in Tallahassee, and everything would have been everything. He would have been under the national radar, but he wanted that limelight, man, and that you get that limelight, and these white boys, they're gonna do a background check on you. They're gonna try to bust you. They already thought he was suspect, so they went ahead and they tested the waters to see exactly how they could get him, and they got him. Let me give a shout out to KC. Let me give a shout out to brother Moku. Let me give a shout out to LA Rod. Let me give a shout out to let me give a shout out to all our usuals in the house. Y'all go ahead and tweet this out. Like I said, the judge is coming in. He'll be in at 9:30. We already text. We already talked. So it's gonna be on tonight. Y'all know how the judge do. You know how he goes in. Everybody, the space, like people be asking, like, when next time you have a judge on? Like, hey, the judge is a very busy man. Very busy man. But we were able to work it out. This will be his third time in the Newstoter space. So thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for you guys helping us grow as well and whatnot. So I definitely appreciate the support that we've been getting. We're going to continue to put out large amounts of content. You guys just continue to follow us. Tell your friends, tell any of your family members, tell anybody that you got. If you want to support this new black media, you can go ahead. We got the Cash App, which is $Newstoter. We also got our link up there that's got our PayPal and our Venmo and our Cash App all in one. So you can click that, or take you to the site, and you can click whichever one you'd like to make a payment. If you got $1 that you'd like to contribute to the New Black Media, that'll be appreciated. If you don't have $1, we're gonna put in the YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that. Anything that you can do to help us grow, please help us grow, because we need that support. We need that help. DJ, go ahead and unmute your mic.
For sure. Definitely support Newstoter. We're definitely trying, and we also looking for black business, by the way. If you got a black business, or if it don't matter if you're incorporated or not, as far as with your tax ID and all that. But if you're doing your thing out the kitchen, you know what I mean, and whipping them pies up, you know what I mean, them real bacon pies, you know what I mean, the Patty LaBelle pies, whatever the case be, come on over to Newstoter so we can promote you. You got your clothing line, you got your record label, you're a lawyer, whatever it is you do, you may even be running for office. Come on up here, we're going to promote it for sure. And definitely support Newstoter. It only take $1. We could take ourselves off of Twitter, because the whole argument, I got to quote my man TD Hip Hop, it ain't to grow big on Twitter, it's to grow off of it. You feel what I'm saying? So eventually we could get our own Black Hub and do our own thing, and that way we could be free and say what we want around each other. Support Newstoter, y'all. Tweet out the space.
Definitely. Like I said, the judge should be stepping in any minute. He said he'll be here at 9:30. Tonight's topics are going to cover inflation. We're going to cover the rise in gas prices. We're going to talk about child support, and we also cover other issues as well, because the judge, he normally goes in. Shout out to Quad and Ray Smith. They done came up in the spot too. So yeah, we're going to be covering a number of topics today and whatnot. So y'all just go ahead and get ready. Listen, get ready to ask some questions. Don't be scared. Man already said he's gonna be raising his hand up, and that's what we like. So I can appreciate that. We definitely can appreciate anybody that's willing to ask some questions, and hey, that's what the space is for. I definitely want to see what's gonna go on with this gas price myself, because damn, the national average is right at $5 almost. So this is rough here, man. This is rough times here. So this is not at all what we expect. This is not all what we want. When you factor in the gas prices, you factor in food on the rise and everything. I mean, it's tough times. And when you're already at the bottom of the barrel, it's a long climb out of that barrel. So we can't be crabs in the barrel and pull each other down. We got to go ahead and try to elevate each other as much as possible and try to rise above the nonsense. We can't be playing the game of the magpies no more. So we got to go ahead and elevate ourselves, move ourselves up. Like I say, judge comes in, I'm going to ask him about some of the questions and whatnot. And I want you guys, if you guys have any questions prepared, like I said, you saw the Twitter space, what it was about. We definitely go ahead and ask some questions or whatever. So, DJ, you got your hand up?
Yeah, while we are waiting for the honorable judge to come up and talk about this child support stuff. Hey, everybody, look up the young man in Brookhaven, Mississippi, by the name of DeMonterio Gibson. He was a FedEx worker. He wound up, for those that, my delivery driver folks out there, you know what I mean, my droppers out there in the world, you know what I mean, that be on the road all. Basically this young brother, he doesn't even look like he's, over 21 years old. So he wound up going to the wrong address, dropped the package off, realized it was the wrong spot, went back, got the package, threw it back on his truck. Keep in mind, the truck he riding in is a rental truck, like a budget rental or, U-Haul type rental or whatever. But the FedEx company that he works for didn't even get a brother any of the type replacement sign magnets that go on those type of trucks. And so, he pulled off the same property. He said out of nowhere, a white truck just came out the same driveway type and just sped in front of him. You know what I mean? He was on like one of those dirt roads in the south or whatever that lead to a main road. So he said by the time he made it to the, back to the off the dirt road going to the main road, the truck was already having him. He said they just started licking shots at him. So this is basically the same attempted murder like Ahmaud Arbery. So this happened way back January 24th, and the brother still ain't getting no type of justice, and he ain't getting. It doesn't seem they're trying to. The police is trying to do an investigation, and kind of find out most likely one of the suspects that most likely fired the weapon. His family works for the police department right there in Brookhaven. So basically, to make a long story short, again, the Geronimo Pratt Gun Club went out there with the young man, to retrace the steps. They said they've been calling the police, trying to get the DA, trying to get the prosecutor, trying to get everybody to understand what's going on. So it took, a bunch of brothers and sisters from, one of the local black gun clubs, Geronimo Pratt Gun Club. Look up Geronimo Pratt for those that don't know. You know what I mean? To go with the young brother and reenact the scene. And then, all of a sudden now the police want to show up because you see some armed brothers out here wondering what's going on. You know what I mean? And then when they was already leaving, you going to try to Uncle Ruckus on this one fat, nasty cop looking like Uncle Ruckus. You know what I mean? Going to try to disrespect the Geronimo Pratt brothers. You know what I mean? Sisters. They was already leaving and they did whatever, whatever it was they needed to do right there. So it's a real long thread, but if you guys get a chance, look it up. There's a lot of film on there. Shout out to guy, I think his name Ford Fescher, Fischer. He's a journalist, a white journalist or whatever. He documented the whole thing. So we got to give him some props too as well. And, just to try to close out, they went to the DA's office. They went to the regular sheriff's police station office. None of these folks want to meet with our brothers and sisters to find out what happened and why these white joker shots at DeMonterio Gibson. Like, come on now, man. This shit getting out of hand, yo. Yeah. I don't know if you're in the space, Tyler, but you might have fell down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so everybody that just stepped in the space, the judge is on his way, so we're just holding it down until he comes. Tonight's topic is going to be on inflation, child support, and gas prices. You guys can also freestyle. The judge is versatile, so if you guys have any questions that you may want to ask him that's not on topic, let's go ahead and stick on the topic first. Those topics that we already discussing, and then we can go ahead and move on from there. But yeah, we want to stick on inflation, child support, and gas prices. You guys, after that, you guys want to speak on something about it afterwards? That is cool. That is fine. We want to welcome you to the Newstoter Twitter space. Like I say, Judge Joe Brown is on his way. So we're going to go ahead, and when the judge comes in, we're going to welcome him, and then we're going to go ahead and listen to him share some information with us and have this as a long experience. Ray, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Now, I just wanted to ask this question. It's more about a topic that we were talking about last night. I noticed someone briefly brought up history, and it actually got me to thinking. A lot of our scholars, while they are putting out a lot of great information, some of it's kind of, I ain't gonna say conflicting. I'll just say this, with white folks, if they say, hey, Christopher Columbus did this, that, and the third, they stick with it. Even if it's not true. But a lot of our scholars, I feel they're like, a lot of the, okay, I say it like this. So I was having a debate last night with a guy, and we started talking about slavery, and he brought up the fact that why don't black people ever talk about their African brothers selling them into slavery? And honestly, I don't really know the truth. I've heard, obviously, it could have been indentured servitude versus actual slavery. And I'm trying to figure out, does anyone know the true history for us to retort that?
I always heard, just like we always heard. I mean, black people have talked about being sold into slavery. I know people say that Roots wasn't a true depiction, and the story was copied and this and that. But I mean, even on Roots, whether it was fictional or not, it showed actually Africans and stuff taking part in the slave trade, selling people into slavery and whatnot. So to me, from my understanding, the slave trade over there in Africa was based more off of, like you say, indentured servitude. It was more people being prisoners of war and people having debts and whatnot and being sold like that. In terms of the actual chattel slavery that we saw here in America, there's been very few places in the world that had that kind of slavery ever happen. Because one thing is that when you were a slave here in America, you were a slave for generations. Like you may somehow get a nice master who may grant you freedom, may allow you to buy your freedom if they allowed you to work or whatever. But in these other places, in these other ancient times, and these other ancient civilizations, and throughout the world, I mean, you had slaves that married into royal families and worked themselves up, and so you basically over here, you basically nigga for life. But in other places throughout the world, you did have a way of what you might say upward mobility that you could climb out of it and this and that. So it's a big difference. I mean, they definitely took part in the slave trade or whatever, whether you want to say it was indentured servitude or this and that. But I mean, it was nothing to the level of, because I mean, pretty much I know a lot of people saying that probably white people want to excuse themselves for it or whatever. But yeah, and then you did have some kingdoms over there that it wasn't even so much indentured servitude. You did have a few kingdoms over there that was deep into the slave trade. They was going out there because they were getting rich off of it, and they were going out there raiding other tribes and whatnot, and other kingdoms and stuff, and enslaving them. So for the most part, I mean, it wasn't indentured servitude. It was people at war with each other. It was people that owed debts or something like that. But I don't think it was to a certain level. Like, I mean, you had some slave markets in West Africa as well now. So I'm not going to say you didn't, but to that certain level, like how this person is speaking, I mean, most of those kingdoms, to my knowledge, weren't taking part of it, but you had a significant number that were. Brother Moko, you got your hand up?
Yeah, just wanted to touch on that topic. I've been researching that specific topic of, like the tribes that have sold Africans into slavery. And the story that I get a lot of is it wasn't actually that they sold us into slavery. First off, I felt when I was getting the information, I took it as they were hired help, not an indentured servant, but say if you had a ship of Dutch that were going to travel to the Americas, but they didn't know how to navigate. So maybe a tribe would give not give them their navigator, but kind of give them their navigator for hire. And it was supposed to be a thing of like, all right, you when they get finished their job, then you bring out people back. But nonetheless, in any of those cases, did they come back for their fellow Africans that they released or let go or sold? They never came back for us. They never said, "Hey," for the ones that were stolen from Africa, or some tribe was responsible for selling your ancestor into slavery. Here, this we got a place for you here, free land. We haven't gotten that to this day. So I think that's the bigger issue versus trying to actually find out which tribe sold how many are sold Africans. I mean, the evidence shows that it was done to some level. Of course, the records of us researching actually who did it has been manipulated by Belgian, by every European um, country that had part in sisters that are born on the continent too, because we have to take into note that they don't know their history as well. So it's a lot of answers that we need, but getting into that, who showed us, and I think we right now, just because of this system of racism, white supremacy that we live in, they manipulate information, they switch it, they lie, so they basically misguide us to to have us arguing amongst each other and arguing with our brothers and sisters that are from the continent, and they do that by confusion. So when we researching this, I think everybody should just research with a real keen eye. Ask a lot of questions. Be yourself when you research.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like I say, you had some that were complicit in it. That's not to say all of them were, but you did have some tribes that was very much complicit in the slave trade, and you had some kings and stuff over there that actually pretty much cried and whined when the slave trade was coming to an end because they was making fist over dollar. But like I say, I'm not going to sit here and say that was the bulk of them, and I'm not going to say that a lot of them knew that the slavery that they may have been practicing for a whole time, which was indentured servitude, which most of the world was practicing indentured servitude, was something far more different than what the Europeans had in mind, or whatever, and for that matter, far more different than what even the Arab Muslims had in mind. So, yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be researched a little bit and whatnot. And I can't speak just for sure about exactly what happened at that time doing over there, but you have different opinions and different views on what happened and how exactly it was or whatever. Quar, go ahead and unmute your mic.
What's up, everybody? Toto, you pretty much said everything I was going to say. I just want to add to that, saying that a lot of those countries back over in Africa, they and a lot of those tribes were complicit. We spoke about before. Like you said, a lot of those chiefs were basically crying because the slave trade was over. They were taking so much money. You also got to remember that there's a book out there that was made in Nigeria. It's called "My Great Grandfather, the Slave Trader," and it basically goes into everything that he did in the slave trade. Now, the only thing that I do want to say that's kind of different from everybody's opinion is that in ancient times, where most of the types of slavery was indentured servitude, even back then they had some brutal slavery. Nothing as long compared to what goes on here. Maybe what happened in Egypt with the Pharaoh and the tribe of Israel, maybe. But other than that, nah, nothing as bad or as long. I yield.
Brother, they always say that there's no concrete evidence that there actually were like actual slaves in Egypt. Now, this is just what I heard, like actual historians saying that there's actually no proof that you had actual slaves building those pyramids and that you actually had that kind of slavery in Egypt. Now, I'm not sitting here saying it was or it wasn't, but a lot of people that supposedly, and I know it's a difference between the Hebrew, so to speak, and the Jewish people, but a lot of these Jewish scholars saying that there's no concrete evidence, there's no proof of that actual Hebrews were building those pyramids, and that you had this type of slavery, and that the Hebrews themselves were indentured servitude actually in ancient Egypt, Kemet, or whatever you want to call it. So, I got no dog in the fight. I don't know one, but this is what you have actual archaeologists and historians and people are actually saying like that hey, the whole thing about the Hebrews leaving and whatnot, like a lot of that is mythological. Like I say, I don't know one way or another. None of us was there, but this is just what you have some historians and archaeologists saying and whatnot. So like I said, I'm not a religious guru like that, so I couldn't tell you. If you believe in the Bible and you believe in Christianity and you believe and you're Israelite, you most definitely believe that happened or whatever. So it's something that could just spark off a whole nother discussion altogether. I ain't gonna go there, Cash. I see you got your hand up, so go ahead and unmute your mic. Cash, you there?
Yeah, my bad. Peace, y'all. Peace. Yeah, I'm Black American on both sides, just for context. Thanks for having me, News. Yeah, the conference I was just about West Africa, and I like to make the distinction of West Africa because I know about South Africa, Zimbabwe, you know what I'm saying, Uganda and all that.
Cash, not to cut you off, but for everybody in the space, we just holding this discussion right now because we're waiting on the judge. After Cash goes and Ray go and DJ, then we're going to start getting on the actual topic just so when the judge does come in. So we just doing this as a way of killing time. So for all you guys coming in like, damn, where's the judge at? The judge said he was going to be here at 9:30. I assume he's running a little bit late because the space was supposed to start at 9, so I pushed it back to 9:15. So I'm gonna let Cash and Ray go and DJ, and then we're gonna start actually getting on the topic a little bit. So when he does come in, he can just go ahead and just jump right in. Cash, go ahead and unmute your mic again and speak.
Peace. Yeah. So West Africa was the first thing I wanted to say. That we shouldn't maybe generalize, but for West Africa, there are specific tribes that for sure engaged in slavery by choice. And I like to rewind before European colonization to mention Mansa Musa, who's one of the richest people of all time. Some would say he was the richest. And, Europeans think of him as holding a golden nugget. But people know that he was, Muslim and that he took a pilgrimage to Mecca, that he built a mosque every Friday because he was so rich, and that he had so many slaves following behind him that it was a trail as long as the day was long. Some say that he freed a lot of those enslaved peoples with as much gold as they could carry, but I just want to highlight that slavery was one of his major forms of income that led towards him being the richest person on the planet. I want to make sure that point's landed for our people. Okay, before I move on, Mansa Musa. Okay, now there's a city called Badagry in Nigeria, which is known for being a port where slavery was specific, where you would come to buy people. And I want to be very clear: we were not stolen, we were not kidnapped, we were sold. All right, and we just need to start saying that to be honest with what the situation is. Badagry, the place where we were sold, there are trips you can take there to this day. A Black American named Mark Anthony took a trip there. He told me all about it. He said they still got umbrellas that they sold 40 of us for, 40 of our ancestors for one umbrella, yo. I thought they were just buying guns and using it for power. They had official licenses from the Royal Niger Trading Company, which was a British company. So they were getting licenses that told them where they could have agents capture people from place to place. I say they, because I consider myself a Black American more than, an African per se, or West African specific, or Igbo, or Wolof, or Akan, or anything like that. Now, I want to mention that there's the Bro Q. He mentioned, he said a book, but it's an article. My great-great-grandfather, Nigerian slave trader. We should all read that article. It's written by, from a first person's perspective, from a lady who actually is from that place, and mentioned a lot of very interesting things, including human sacrifice. How they would, if they were a slave trader, they would die with 6 people alive. And that made me think, like, damn, so there was people enslaved on the continent even most recently? And that's kind of the last point I want to end on. I can mention how there were, in 2013, African chiefs urged to apologize for their role in slavery, and that was by the people. They told the chieftains that they need to apologize and they need to set land aside for Black Americans who want to come back to the continent, free of charge. And I say we take those ports over, the ones that we were sold from, the whole, doors of no return. It should be the doors of us owning now. And I wanted to mention that the British had to tell them to stop committing human sacrifice in a treaty with them in 1851, at least with the Igbo tribe in Nigeria. I just wanted to mention that. But my last point is, I'm sorry, 1 second, y'all. I was going to mention child support too. Just hopefully, if you get to speak to the judge, because in California, I know that they're mentioning with reparations under the 6-page preliminary recommendations. They have a whole 8-point bullet point mentioning the late fees. There being annual accrual of late fees for child support payments. The payments not going directly to the parents, and us wanting to alleviate that, and a whole lot of other things. So I just wanted to get his opinion on some of those suggestions to fix the Black community. And again, thank y'all for the space and time, B1.
No doubt. When he comes in, he does his speech or whatever, he makes his statement, go definitely raise your hand and ask him a question like that. Like I said, that's what the space is open for. So, he's one, he doesn't shy away from questions. So Ray, go ahead and mute your.
You guys, I want to thank everyone for all this information. Like I said, I'm still very new. I'm trying to learn all this stuff. And a lot of things that I've heard, I've heard a lot of white folks say, you know what? Well, actually, we built the pyramids. And I was watching this debate that Brother John Henry Clark, he was talking about, well, if you guys built the pyramids in Egypt, why didn't you do it in Europe? So you telling me that you guys basically went to another continent, built it up, but then you couldn't come back and do it in your own land? And that makes sense to y'all? Yeah, that makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. Obviously, I wasn't there. I don't know how it was done, but that brother makes a hell of a point.
No doubt, no doubt. Brother Mocha, and I want to thank Brother Moko, and I want to thank DJ for their contributions on Cash App. Like I said, if you guys want to donate or contribute to Newstoter, it is $ Cash App. If you have a PayPal or Venmo account, we also have that in the Jumbotron. You can click that. You can use the PayPal or Venmo as well. So any of you guys that want to contribute to the New Black Media and the largest Black-owned news aggregator curation site, please go ahead. That's $ Newstoter. Go ahead, Brother Moko, and unmute your mic.
I think DJ was speaking news, bro.
Nah, go ahead. It doesn't matter. Just go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to add and a question maybe we can remember to ask the judge about child support. I was doing a little research on child support, and child support was actually started for the white immigrants that were coming over here, abandoning their children. It was like a common practice back in those days. I want to get the specific date because I know the judge knows, but I want to say it was like around the 1930s, 40s. They put child support in place because a lot of foreign immigrants like Polacks and the people from Ireland, the Irish people, and they would abandon their children at like 10 and 7. I don't know if people in the room have ever seen that movie Gangs of New York, with the 5 points. If you've seen that movie, that was kind of like based on a true story. And if you take notice, there's a lot of orphans running around, a lot of marvelous children at a young age. So this it's a myth actually that child support was put in place because black fathers, wasn't stepping up to the plate or wasn't in the families. They actually did that whole operation to not just remove black fathers. That's what it turned into from what my research is. But it started because whites were abandoning their children.
No doubt. And that's an interesting thing because I'm going to ask him about the origins of it and actually what it was meant for and whatnot. So, DJ, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, go ahead, Kwa. I'm going to go last. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, DJ. Unless you
Hey, for sure. Look, Ray, check this out right here. I'm going to play this little bit of video right here to let you understand what slavery was. Hold on a minute. Let me go right back. Hold on one second.
Wait. Let's hold up on the audio real quick. Let's go ahead and let everybody ask a question or whatever. And then let's go ahead and start trying to, like I say, start getting into the actual topic itself. Because I want people coming into the space and think it's something totally different. So let's go ahead and try to do what we can to try to stay on topic as much as possible. I know people might want to ask one more question or whatever. Then we're going to go ahead and start trying to actually initiate this conversation, get it going. So,
all right. Real quick, I'll just say 2 quick things. I don't know when the judge is going to pop up, but just to touch on something that Ray said, talking about the ancient Egyptians. Yeah, we all know they were dark. They were actually black, right? I saw an article. I mean, you see articles all the time where you see pictures of them uncovering tombs, and the people depicted on the walls are black as soon as they find the tombs. Last year, It was either last year or during the pandemic 2020 where they found another one. And as soon as they found it, opened it up, they took pictures as soon as possible. The people depicted on it were dark skinned people. But you ain't see it in the media. You just saw an article and that was it. And then it was hush hush. To switch to go into the main topic, I'm talking about inflation. Something that's related to it in New York City. I think I forgot the name of the department, but they just allowed for there to be a 3% or like a 4% increase on rent, and that's New York City, so that's going to have shockwaves and put shockwaves all the way over here in Jersey. And that's going to be crazy.
Oh, say that last thing again, Qua. Say that last thing again.
In New York City, there was a department, something about, I forgot the department's name. But they had to do like the regulating rent increases. They agreed to allow property owners to increase rent by like over 3% or something like that, and that's huge, especially with everything that we're already dealing with, you know. So if they do that in New York City, how many of those New York City people are gonna how many more New York City people are going to leave New York to come over here in Jersey, and then our price is going to skyrocket even more. We are already dealing with crazy prices.
Hey, yeah, that right there, you know, this is the whole argument of the black state of America, bro. And I don't think it's anything we could really do up here in Jersey specifically. And I ain't even going to say the whole tri-state because New York is really its own place. You know what I'm saying? And New York City specifically is really its own place. That's why it's separated from New York State. It's the city of the state. You know what I'm saying? So New York City is pretty much ground zero for Pan-Africanism, as well as certain spots out here that you know when we went to the reparations march in Jersey. What did you see? See what I'm saying? And then the way Biden just letting everybody and their mama in the country, especially these Ukrainians, we already know they don't like black folk, and they coming right here. Got a lot of these Afghanistans, they don't like black folk. They were already right here at Andrews Air Force Base in Jersey. Go look up the Andrews Air Force Base, Afghanistan tent city, yo. Look that shit up. And supposedly they done shipped a lot of them to Philly, from what I'm hearing already. Also, you got Governor what's the governor name of Texas? I can't think his name, Abbott or whatever. He told Joe Biden, hey, look, bro, you want to deal with this, help out? You don't want to send no Border Patrol agents? You don't want to send me no extra bread? You know what I mean? All right, watch this. I'm going to load everybody up that's coming across the fence, and we're going to drop them off in, D.C. And that's what he been doing, bro. So it is what it is, man.
No doubt. Let's let her get her. She's got her hand up. Go ahead, unmute your mic.
Yeah, hey fam, hashtag reparations, motherfucking now. I think these rent prices is all in cahoots, because what's going to happen is the Ukrainians are going to come over here, and how are they going to live? How are they going to be subsidized? It's going to be through the United States government. So even if these rent prices are through the roof, they all getting a kickback. These people that own these rental properties, they're going to get the full rent, and it's going to be half subsidized by who? Ghetto fucking us. The other thing is when the gas prices in the food, everything that we need is right here. So I don't understand why we're having so high gas prices. I'm in California, and it's almost $6.55. Newstoter, I sent you in the DM the prices for each city. For each state. It's just unbelievable. And for child support, come on, y'all. Do you think they do anything for black people? They can say that they invented because it was for black fathers who abandoned. But if you think about it, they don't invent anything for us. Nothing for us. They don't do anything for us. So they can just go on with that lie. I land my plane.
Thank you. Damn, how much you said gas was like $6 out there?
$6.57.
Good Lord, so y'all finna be hitting $7 in a second.
We were a couple. It was like $6.89 It's terrible. It's really really bad, y'all. And we have the groceries. I mean, I live by the grape capital, which is Selma, and I don't know what y'all paying for lemons, but we almost at like $7 a bag or 89 cents for one, and we live here.
Yeah, that's crazy there. And like I said, I saw something they was talking about the rent in New York City for a 1-bedroom apartment was ranging anywhere from like $4,500 to about $6,500. So that lets you know exactly how much that was ranging there. Who was next? Let's let Casey go. Casey, go ahead and unmute your mic. Casey, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that. Thanks, Toter, for having the space. Hello, everybody in the chat. I just wanted to digress real quick. I know that the Egyptians were brought up as far as like the Israelites and them being slaves and stuff. We were told a lot, y'all. The Israelite slaves were not a slave colony. Basically, according to Dr. Richard Gabriel, who was a contributor for the History Channel for many years, and he's actually a professor of history at the University of Israel. He basically said that the Israelites back then were actually a buffer mercenary colony. They were landless at the time, and they went to Pharaoh and they asked for land. Pharaoh said, "Okay, fine, you can have north of us, and what we're going to use you for is a buffer against the Hittites, who were another northern clan who was constantly going up against the Egyptians." The Israelites took it, and I'm quite sure they were a part of the public works projects that the pharaohs had going on, especially during kind of good stuff. So research it, look it up. I'll land my plane on that.
All right. I believe Moses, you're next. Moses, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Newstoter, thanks for the space. You look at all this funding they're giving to the Ukrainians. They're bringing a lot of Ukrainians here, Afghanistans and Latinos. It's very important as we're getting politically sophisticated to understand that a lot of these nonprofits that's in the Black communities are actually, some kind of sleeper cell for DNCs to implement a lot of Latino policies by scapegoating Black people in these nonprofit organizations they have in Black communities. And a lot of these nonprofit organizations are like development corporations that's supposed to be helping the community. So they have black at the forefront, but in the inside, it's specifically Latino based. And these are things that we have to start mapping out and start actually having conversations to building our task force to stop this. Because if you're going to say that nonprofit organization and a Black community is for Black people, then there can't be any funny style business inside that's specifically passing policies for Latinos. I've seen it, and it's disrespectful, super disrespectful. And these are one of the things that we have to start attacking, because we're attacking politics, but let's get something really clear. Local politics is probably the most important voting that we should be strategizing. I don't vote for no president. Forget all that. But the people in my district, I need to know who these people are. I need to know every single one of them. I need to know who they are, because when it's time to making them take action and holding accountability, we know who it is and we know where the target. And these nonprofits, we have to talk more about them, because there are a lot of them that are manipulating the message that they're doing something for the black community, whereas being scapegoating that message to implement mostly Latino-based policies that's going to give Latinos better housing, better incentives, also to get jobs, those construction jobs. A lot of that comes from those nonprofits that are in black communities that are using bylaws to give Latinos those construction jobs, whereas Black Americans are not getting them, and they're supposed to be getting them because there's laws that's passed that says Black Americans should get those jobs, but they're not getting them because the people that are running these nonprofits are typically, I've seen them, white or Caribbean or a lot of LGBT and symbols. And I hate to say, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, because there's a lot of old, powerful black folks that are kicking ass and getting things done. But the old niggas, a lot of them, they're in there and they're just stalling and they're just going with the flow. And it's just disrespectful. But now that we see this, we're taking actions, and we're dissecting every single can, every single word that's in this can of garbage that has been stopping Black Americans from achieving economic empowerment. So now we're exposing all of them, and they're on Front Street now. You know, they're on Front Street. You know, actually, they opened the door, and now they can't leave. So they're on Front Street. We got them right where we need them. They're cornered, and we're exposing them. And slowly, the grassroots, the groundwork, and the works that's being done here in these spaces and so forth. This work.
Hey, Brother Moses, can you lay your plane pretty soon? Just so we keep the room flowing.
I'll land my plan with that.
No doubt. Thank you, Moses, for chiming in and dropping a little knowledge for us. Ray, go ahead. It's going to be Ray, and it's going to be Cash, and it's going to be Quad. Go ahead, Ray. Unmute your mic.
I know we're just talking about random. I want to bring this up. Has any of the family seen what's happening with Dr. Cosby? Because evidently, from what I'm hearing, he still had to pay, I think, $500,000 for something that happened in the 70s. But maybe someone in the room can answer this. Like, what evidence do you have that this happened in the 70s?
Basically, with a silver, when you have one of these silver suits like that, the whole you don't need to have like a guilty. It's almost like a evidence they claim. So what you need to convict somebody with in a regular criminal trial is nothing. It's nothing compared to like the silver suit. The silver suit doesn't need any of that. It's from what I understand, and you would have to ask the judge because that's his thing. But I believe it's more just a preponderance of evidence. So you don't have to have anywhere. Look like we got Judge Joe coming up in the house, y'all. So let me go ahead and make him a speaker. We got Judge Joe up in the house, so we're definitely glad to have that. We got the judge up in the house.
Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and ask him that.
Judge, can you hear us? Judge Joe, Judge, can you hear us in the space?
I hear you.
Okay, well, once again, y'all, we have a legend back in the house. He has joined us for the third time. We got Judge Joe Brown. Everybody knows who the judge is unless you live on the moon. So, Judge, we're definitely glad to have you back in the space with us to drop knowledge. Tonight, we're going to be talking about things that we know you're expert in, such as child support. We want to know how exactly child support affects the Black community. We also want to talk a little bit about the inflation.
Let's talk about how it affects everybody else, because for the last 30-some years, 35 years, I've been getting every year the statistics on the demographics and how they pay child support. Black men pay more regularly and on time than any other demographics.
so we pay the best. So if you want to talk about child support, let's talk about everybody else who's below us is about. We don't have any problems on a national scale. That's mythology. We think it's bad with us, but it's not. We pay better than anybody else. So when you talk about us, you should be saying we need to show the rest of the country how to pay child support because we're most reliable. That is a fact.
Now, Judge, when do you know what year? I mean, I'm sure you know what year was child support. Was it like 1975 that under Gerald Ford that they started doing the collection where they started actually taking?
No. Child support's long-term thing. It's anciently. Women were viewed as children. You took them away from their fathers. You brought them home with you, and if you got divorced from them, then you sent them back to their fathers, and it was your obligation to stand in and take care of them and the children you had with them. So child support went that way. In terms of withholding income tax or benefits or licenses, that was a trend that started in the mid-70s. It got really deep under the Reagan administration when he came up with the mythology of the welfare queen. And there are welfare queens, but they're not necessarily black, as Reagan liked to put out. In fact, I think he's probably the most racist president we've had in the last 75 years, the Saint Ron the Reagan, but people look at him like he's holy. I think the most ignorant and incompetent is sitting in the White House right now. In the last, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 20, and now we're going to the 30s in the 21st century. So the most competent somebody that's been in the White House is the one you got in there now, but the one that started all that, we're going to really get these scofflaw black men, which was a lie, who aren't paying child support, which was a lie, so we can get rid of these welfare queens. That was the Ronald Reagan administration. He's probably too damn brain dead to know what the hell was being done in his name, but he can claim responsibility for it. He spoke about it enough, starting when he was California governor back in the late 60s.
Judge, I want to ask you one quick question because I know we got a couple hands up in the crowd. They want to ask you a question, but just off of your basic just your experience with how the country has changed now socially and economically from a time where men were the major breadwinners of the house and a lot of women stayed home and actually kept the kids. So now women actually going out working, making close to what men make, in a lot of instances.
They make more. The settlements in that respect in the last 15 years have been paid out to men for getting paid less than women get paid for the same job. That's become a myth about women getting paid less. I know a lot of feminists, black and white, want to holler about it, but the payouts are what they are. And as far as the job thing goes, it's not just a black thing. Right now, the stats are that only 28% of each year's high school graduates are male. That's on average. Only 32% of the college undergrads are male. Only 36% of the college grad students male. And only 44% of the workforce in America is male. And that's for everybody, not just us.
Do you think it's time for the child support system to be reformed now? Or do you think it's okay in its current state?
Well, it was prepared equitably and fairly. It would be okay as it is. Personally, I never missed a payment. I always paid on time by direct deposit in my ex's account. I always paid more than I was ordered to pay. Never once did I pay the minimum amount that was set. I always paid more, and toward the end, I was paying 5 times, 6 times as much for one child as I was supposed to for 2. That was just me. My young son who's 30 now wants me to sue his mother because he found out that his mama, instead of using child support for him, used it to set up a personal retirement fund. See, so stuff happens.
No doubt, no doubt. We're gonna let a couple guys want to ask you a question. You got your cousin Ray. I'm gonna let him. Ray, actually, let me let King LA go first since he hasn't had a chance to ask a question. King LA, then Ray, and then Brother Moko. So King LA, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, what's going on, Judge Joe Brown? Want to let you know, man, I am here in Memphis. A lot of my friends, people from the 90s, they still talk about how good and fair you were. So I just want to let you know, man, there's a lot of love for you, for a lot of black people who know you personally, of how you helped them. But my question to you is,
Thank you.
I'm in my 40s, and they changed the system on me for child support. I think it was 2006, 2007. Started basing off of people's incomes, and I noticed the girl who I had a child with, she got, and it's embarrassing to say, she got 4 other kids that I thought that she had with one guy, but she got different baby daddies, and I was the last one, and I feel like a fool. But the point is, man, they told me at the child support place that by me being in IT, that I have to pay. I was in $800, monthly, out of my paychecks, and the other baby daddies was paying less. Is there any way where I can get that lower, or I have to pay it because I make more money now with the system change? That's all.
Yeah, well, see, they changed it so you can't get, used to be, you couldn't get past the 8 ball. But they've got a cap now where you can't be required to pay more than $2,400 a month for any one child. Your problem, if you live where I do, is this bunch of snakes, racist dogs and snakes down at Memphis and Shelby County Juvenile Court. And since it says Memphis and Shelby County, when I get elected mayor next year, I'm going to sick the legal department on those greedy, crooked bastards down there. The Justice Department has found over and over again that what they do is corrupt and wrongdoing. We had a judge down there from 1963 to 2006, Kenneth Turner, who was a 5th grade dropout. He had gotten a few weeks into the 6th grade, and that's as far as he went. And for going on 35 years, the state Supreme Court ruled that because of his educational deficiencies, he was not qualified to hear a case without written permission of all parties. And that's when he started hiring all of these referees and other incompetent idiots down there who didn't know about the practice of law because basically they were fresh out of law school. They were related to cronies of his. And he had the black bill information since he ran sex crimes as a captain for Memphis Police Department before he was made the juvenile court judge in 1963. His predecessor, a woman, conducted the last slave auction in America early 1963 when she sold at auction some infants to celebrities and stars who wanted to buy them, and she pocketed the money. So that's the long history of that kangaroo court down there, that travesty. So we need to do something about that, but I understand what your problem is, and your thing is not so much child support law as a crooked and criminal institution that is wrongfully applying it with the idea that the mess things up, the more business they generate and the more profit they make, since it is now completely privatized, and the more criminality and dysfunction and more opportunities to appoint friends to represent somebody or to charge people for going online for counseling, and a lot of garbage that they do, the more profitability it is for the private entity that runs Memphis and Shelby County Juvenile Court. There are a lot of people down there that ought to be in a penitentiary.
meaning the people that work it. Now, that's what I have to say about that. I feel for you. You need a good lawyer who's got balls enough to stand up to those charlatans. You've got Dirty Harry, who is an asshole, Hal Horn, and you've got some other idiots. They went and hired a retired Tennessee Supreme Court judge in order to give themselves some credibility. But basically, it's a sorry-ass piece of work down there, and they also have a habit of renting out curly-haired little boys, 15, 14, 13, to some perverts who are so-called volunteer counselors who take them down to Hot Springs, Arkansas for little pedophile orgies over the weekends and bring them back on Monday. They ought to be in jail. But I feel for you. I really do.
I appreciate. I appreciate your response. Thank you.
All right, King. Thank you for asking that question. Since we got a couple new speakers, let's let them get a chance to speak. But before we do that, everybody in the space, please go ahead and tweet out the space. Go ahead and tweet out the link to your followers. Go ahead so your followers can see the link and let them know that Judge Joe Brown is officially in the house. Also, for all you people that's in the space that are not following Newstoter on Twitter, go ahead and make sure you go ahead and follow us on Twitter. If not now, after the space ends, go ahead and follow us. Also, for anybody who supports Black-owned business, this is a Black-owned media outlet. Go ahead and support Newstoter. That's $ Newstoter with the Cash App. That's $ Newstoter. You guys support Black-owned media. Go ahead and support this one, the largest Black news curation site in America. That's $ Newstoter. Once again, that is $ Newstoter. And if you don't have a Cash App, we have our Venmo and we have our PayPal link in the actual Jumbotron. So you can go ahead and click that, and it'll take you to the Venmo and the PayPal account. But please go ahead and tweet out the link and make sure you guys are following us. Our next speaker is going to be Bordello, I believe, Borderline. I can't see your whole name. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Right on. Hello. Yeah, that's Borderline psychotic. What's going on? How you doing, Judge?
How are you, sir?
Outstanding. Glad to talk to you here. I'm going to say something here that is probably crazy, and if you tell me it's crazy, I'll take that from you. But I've looked at this situation with child support over the years, and I've always thought, well, if we're doing policy, why don't we just do it the other way around and see how that works? And I've had this thing where I say financial abortion, and that men should be allowed to have financial abortion. If the lady says she's pregnant, she tells us we have the ability to say, okay, I want it, I want to take care of it, or no, I don't. And the reason I say that is because that goes with the abortion issue and them being allowed to abort the child, or just the fact of that they don't, they're not ready for it, they don't want it, whatever. Now, as far as the rape and mother's health, I'm in favor of that. I don't like when people make that bullshit argument. But, so how silly do you think that is? That in equality, it would be a financial abortion for a man to be able to have the same ability that the woman has with that child's life.
Well, the problem with that is you have to have a physical invasion of the woman's body. But there are other kinds of abortions. I used to routinely get involved in what they call postnatal abortions, or I call it that. Capital punishment, executions, drive-bys, ODs, suicide by cop, that kind of thing. That was postnatal abortion, where the child was born and the child took itself out after it was born. So child grew up, I guess. But see, the point that would have to be resolved is, could a guy go in and compel the woman to do something to her body? And that gets questionable. But there is another thing when it comes down to artificial insemination. Guys donate sperm and women use it to get knocked up or impregnated. And consulting, as I have, with what was the largest fertility clinic in America at the time, they said only 5% of their customers were married couples. 50% were single women who just wanted to be mothers, and 45% were lesbian single women who wanted to be mothers. So 95% of the mothers that they impregnated were not married. And the courts around the country have come up with this comment called intentionality. And when a woman decides to use some guy's sperm to impregnate or herself, they have said that it is not the guy's intention, hence intentionality, to become a father, therefore he can't be held for child support. Well, that might be something that could be reasonably expanded. So if it was just overnight sex and there was no intention for anybody to impregnate anyone, the same principle could be applied to intentionality, because the truth is there's a myth out there that the problem is scofflaw dads who just recklessly have sex and then don't want to take care of the children that come. Whereas one of the realities is there are a great number of women that just want to get pregnant and don't want to be bothered with a man and would look at the institution of marriage as a form of slavery, and that men somehow or another are somehow evil and should not be involved in the raising of children. And that's just against the whole human scheme of child rearing. It's sick. That said, I passed the gavel.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's beautiful. I love that explanation. Thank you. You actually gave me legal precedent for what I was thinking in my mind. And, that's why I messaged you. So, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Jay, go ahead and unmute your mic. You're next.
Yeah, what's going on, you guys?
What's going on?
All right. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me, News. And how you doing, Judge?
I'm doing fine, sir.
So I just had a question. I heard you say you were running for mayor in Memphis, Tennessee.
That's right.
So I hope for you the best, man. But I just wonder, because I'm planning on running for a council position over here in Houston, Texas, and I was wondering if you had any advice for me.
Well, yeah. Know the people, know their issues, understand the people, and most importantly, be able to walk after dark where your constituents live without a police escort. If you're doing right, the people will protect you.
All right, appreciate that, man. That's all I had to ask, man. Thank you. Thank you again, News. Thank you.
No doubt. Judge, let me ask you a quick question before I hand it to Ray. Who will you be running against in 2023 in Memphis?
Well, the current incumbent, who is an incompetent jerk named Strickland, will be termed out, though City Council in Memphis has gotten word that I'm running, so they want to reconsider that and change it so he would not be limited out, but I'll still kick his ass. He's an idiot, and he doesn't have a clue.
I think sometimes we forget that being a judge, that you already know about the politicking aspect, because you have to get elected to be a judge. Am I correct?
I got elected to 2 8-year terms.
That's good. That's what I thought. Ray, go ahead and unmute your mic.
What's going on, cuz? How you doing tonight?
Hey, cuz, how you doing?
I'm good. I just got 2 quick questions. My first one, I heard President Biden say something kind of interesting, and I just want to get your opinion on it. He said basically, I'm sick of all this stuff. American people are being lied to, and that he said that inflation is government spending. It isn't government spending. It's come from everywhere else. It's come from Putin. It's come from Ukraine. But as far as I know, from growing up, going to schools and stuff, inflation is made in Washington because only Washington can create money. So is he lying? Am I missing something?
He's lying. He's got a lifetime history of lying, and when he first started his political career, he got busted for plagiarism.
Okay.
So he lied about his career in law school and some other things academically. So he's been a liar since day one. He's a typical fascist. And what is their thing? Tell a lie long enough and loud enough, and you can get him to believe it. And my caveat on top of it is including the liar.
Okay. And my second question is about Dr. Cosby. I'm just asking for myself because I don't understand. he, I guess, just got sued for $500,000 for something that happened in, I guess, the 70s that they don't have any evidence for. You know, no DNA, no
46
anything.
years ago. 46 years ago.
So how is, educate me, how is that possible if they don't have any evidence to point to saying that he did this, but yet they're still trying to make him pay this money?
They came up with some exceptions to American law dealing with this kind of thing some years ago, trying to be politically correct, and now it is producing some indefensible results. I think he'll have a good chance on an appeal, as he did with this last appeal he had with the criminal matter, even though the standard is more likely than not rather than beyond a reasonable doubt. $500,000 that he has been found obligated to pay at this point. Fortunately for him, he can pay that. That's just operating cost, but I think it is a charade and it was a circus. And 47 years, you sleep on it that long, you should lose your chance. And generally, personal injury, torts, personal wrong, have a 2-year statute of limitations in California. And this is one of those things where somebody trying to be politically correct tried to extend it because of the hashtag #MeToo movement. They have targeted Dr. Cosby and this charlatan who represents so many of them, Gloria Aldred and her daughter. They're in a business of extorting people into settling things, and that's how they squirm through their money, and it is not healthy. And they're man haters, and that's about as bad as somebody who is a woman hater. It gets us nowhere except a certain select crowd that looks at the idea of being married to a man is somehow unholy and wrong. And I think that's kind of sick because the human model is the fundamental organizational structure in humanity from which tribe, nations, and civilization spring is all about the traditional nuclear family, and they want to destroy that. That is not healthy.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that, cuz I gotta get ready to go to sleep. I gotta get up at 2 a.m. for work, but I appreciate you taking my question.
There you go.
All right, Ray. If you get ready to go out, man, have a good one. It was glad having you back in the space as always. So we'll have a space tomorrow night. Come back out if you can. I know you'll probably be in anyways. We got us a new speaker. I want to give him a chance about that. Truth Ali. I'm gonna get to Brother Moku and Cash, but let's let Truth Ali go ahead and talk. Go ahead and unmute your mic. Truth Ali, are you there?
Yeah, give it a second. Sometimes it takes a second, like it's got a crazy delay in it.
Okay. Truth Ali.
Yeah, I'll say somebody else until he either come back up or whatever the case may be.
We'll
probably got to drop the phone, Ali, and come back up, bro.
Go ahead, Brother Moku, and go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, how you feeling, Judge Brown?
All right, sir.
I had a question for you. Being that we already have evidence that this privatized industry of child support is corrupt. I mean, you have given us time and time again. I'm trying to destroy the nuclear family. Would it be wise that we eliminate it?
Well, the point is you're trying to do for your children, and the manly thing is to provide for them. A lot of states are coming up with legislation to prevent child support from becoming a form of backdoor alimony. That's the problem. Some women, and I ran into Katie Chapter case when I was involved, that's been 32, 34, 35 years ago, 40 years ago, 45 years ago. over and over again where they thought child support was supposed to be some guy paying them for the privilege of having had a child with them. It's not for her benefit, it's for the benefit of the child. Now, that it is corrupted often by people that really ought not be involved because they're not fit to be involved, does not destroy the legitimacy of the thing. Whether the child was legit born of a marriage or a bastard born outside of the marriage, men used to provide for the children, but that's not so much the case these days, since things have morphed into an industry where child support and having children becomes a means of income rather than passing on things to the next generation.
No doubt. Who was that just spoke? I'm sorry, because I lost track. Was that Brother Moku who was just speaking? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Judge. It was you definitely hit all points. I guess my next question would be, where would we find the lawyers that got balls enough to fight the corruption? You just being one judge, we can't leave it all on you, but I know your experience, your time, doing all those big cases like with MLK, and you shedding light on a lot of corruption. How can we start to search for a group of black lawyers, men in particularly, and even women, black women that are not afraid, to expose and fight that?
The boldest lawyer I knew in Tennessee was a woman. She's doing stuff as a magistrate now. Her name was Taylor Estridge. She had more balls than all of the guys I knew under 40. So, yeah, but you see, the profession has become corrupted. Too many of them are in it to make money, not to make a difference. And I have this discussion over and over. Hey, don't you live here? Don't you vote? Don't you have problems? Don't you deal with the police? Don't you remember what it was like when you had to? Well, then isn't it your duty to do something about it, since you have the knowledge, information, and supposedly the acumen and the talent to do so? They don't get it. So we need to encourage the development of some new iron balls. See, most of what happened that made things legally right for black folk had not a damn thing to do with folk out protesting. It had to do with what happened in the courtrooms. And back in the 60s, like H. Rap Brown would point out, he'd say, we don't need the Air Force, we got what we need. Reach in his pocket, pull out a book of matches. Say you can get them free at any grocery store, pharmacy, a restaurant, anywhere you want, you can find matches. I'm not saying that I'm advocating that you do that. I'm a judge, retired. Remember, I'm not supposed to say that. But he said it. It's a reality. And I'll tell you this. When I was an intern with a D.C. think tank a half century ago, one of my assignments was to be in the Library of Congress and look at the legislative record of the Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Acts. We went through 60-some thousand pages, and we found about 4 that talked about demonstrations. The rest of them were concerned about black folk burning down cities in the late 60s and mid 60s, equivalent to the Army, Air Force, and the British RAF burning down German towns in World War II. That's what persuaded folk to change the laws to make them equitable and fair. Now, in terms of execution, that's up to us. We have to pay attention to who we are voting for when we can vote for judges. We have to pay attention to not getting off of juries and sitting. We have to be artful in how we answer questions so we don't exclude ourselves by our answers. Not saying don't be truthful, but be an enthusiastic juror. And don't try to get off, and justice will occur instead of it being just us. Now, watch the judges you vote for. Don't walk into a poll ignorant of who's on a ballot and vote because somebody hands you a sample ballot and you think he's one of you, some prominent black celebrity politician. I'll give you an example. Anybody listening from Memphis, Shelby County, should be aware of this. There was a character named Joe McCarthy who was judge of Division 8 of Criminal Court. His current successor is a Chris Kraft, who is one of the dumbest, most incompetent people I've ever encountered in life, and he used to be a prosecutor in my courtroom. But Joe McCarthy had previously been Grand Dragon of the KKK and was chairman of the White Citizens Council, but he got the black bloc vote every election because black congressmen, black representatives, black state senators, black politicians got paid a lot of money to put his name on their sample ballots, and they did, and black folk voted in mass because he got handed to them by somebody they thought was credible. Now, we need to stop that.
Facts.
No doubt, Judge. We're gonna go on to our next speaker. We have let's let Cash go ahead, and we're gonna kind of let you guys ask a question so everybody else can get a chance to ask the judge at once. The truth. Let me see, truth. Is your phone working now?
Yes.
Okay, so you was actually next. So go ahead and ask the judge, and also, like I said, guys, before, make sure that you're tweeting the space out. Make sure, I know we have some people here that's not following Newstoter on Twitter. Please go ahead and follow us. If you want to say update with breaking black news and content, go ahead and make sure you're following Newstoter. Today we dropped about 30 articles on Twitter. So if you want to stay up to date with what's breaking in black society, black culture, black education, news, politics. If you want to stay up to date with the current trends, then you need to make sure you are following Newstoter on Twitter. That is a must. You need to go ahead and follow us, and also you can support us on Cash App. That's $ Cash App. You can also support us on PayPal and Venmo, which is in the Jumbotron. But on our Cash App, it is $ Newstoter. Go ahead, Truth.
Yes, how y'all doing? Good evening, family. Judge, much respect to you. How you doing there, sir?
Thank you, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking, sir. Quick question, and this is I don't want you to take this as a gotcha, but I've listened to you for over a decade now, and you always seem to break everything down. Like legalese and being able to explain stuff so that everybody else understands. You always had excellent explanations of how the law actually works. So I wanted to ask you, has anybody ever contacted you about the reparations for descendants of slaves in America? Has any of these people ever asked you for your expertise or anything?
Yes. Reparations is not new. My parents used to discuss with me, my father was 1910, my mother wasn't born in 1917, what reparations was about and how it had come up during their lives. My grandfathers and grandmothers used to talk about it. Grandfather was born in 1852 before the Civil War. One was born 1869, right after the Civil War, etc. So we talked about it. And in my lifetime, this is the third time reparations has come and hit strong. There is an argument for it, but as I used to tell clients, look, even if you've got the winning side on a lawsuit doesn't mean you can collect, because sometimes the person you would be going up against is judgment proof or just doesn't have the money, even if you win. And because of a thing called sovereign immunity and the fact where there is a tortious wrong, that means the civil side of a criminal wrong, most states have a statute of limitations varying between 1, 2, 4, maybe 5 or 6 years. So it's been 157 years since, and that's a long time. And most of the people that did the wrong are dead, though there are entities, corporate entities like the Catholic Church or certain church-affiliated organizations that, as sort of immortal, fictional persons, might be liable. But basically, to get the money, you'd have to sue the government, and governments are immune under the principle of sovereign immunity unless they grant or revoke that immunity on themselves, which they do from time to time. Hence, from somebody's legislative body, either state or federal, we need what they call an enablement act to say it's okay to bring a claim, and an appropriations act saying here's the money from which you get it. Now, we need that.
Okay. I'll say this right here, everybody. Let's try to stay on subject. I know that the judge has a lot of wealth of information, but let's try to ask him something dealing with inflation or child support if we can. I know everybody wants to ask a bevy of questions, but let's try to go ahead and stay on topic if we can. Let's try to see if we can ask the judge something pertaining to what the actual Twitter space is tonight. I understand that before he got in, we were just trying to like freestyle and try to keep everything going. But if we can, let's go ahead and just try to stay on subject as much as we can, because I know we do have some people that actually want to speak and ask him some questions. Sean, you're up next. Since you're a new speaker, I'm going to let you go. We're going to get to you, Cash. We're going to get to Moses and Quad, but let's go ahead and let the new speaker go ahead. So, Sean, go ahead and unmute your mic.
I don't know what's up with that. I want to speak to Judge Joe Brown, and I want to say thanks for everything you do for us. I definitely want to explain that when a person like Biden say, we ain't got no lawyers and no accountants, well, we happy to have a judge like you on our team. When it comes to inflation, we also know that it involves immigration. When these people go to take these other people in, they're using their children, as the pawn piece. That's their excuse of actually, bringing these people in. But they don't charge their men. None of them, no type of, we get max consequences for child support as black men or as black family. But these men and all that stuff from over there, they don't get that consequence. But we bringing in their children. That's also causing inflation, because that have no type of tax no tax credit, anything that actually benefit us as Americans. As Americans, we already know the history of the inflation situation, what causes it. They don't give us the mouthpiece and say so, none of that.
Let me explain how inflation works for somebody's benefit, and you'll get a clue of what it's about. Sometimes inflation gets completely out of control. They call it runaway inflation, and that's bad for everybody. Sometimes inflation is intentionally engendered or deliberately caused. Why? Let's say you're in the business of advancing financing, so you have to borrow funds to loan out to other entities. Let's say you have a loan obligation of $10,000. Well, if you engender inflation, let's say 4%, what winds up happening is you would have to generate another $400 on top of the $10,000, if you look at it one way, to equal $10,000. But if you look at it another way, where you are subject to a loan obligation of $10,000, you reduced your loan obligation by $4,000. So that means you only owe $9,600 in current money, rather than what you owed before. So in that case, generating controlled inflation is good for your business. Biden has long indicated that he wants to destroy our dependence on fossil fuel. So it looks like what you are seeing at the pump fits in that category, wherein, guess what? He's trying to make inflation hit hard, so that helps his cronies in high finance like Goldman Sachs. And it also does something to destroy the public's dependency on fossil fuel. However, there are no alternatives this bunch of idiots has been developing. And in addition, it is having an exact opposite effect. We note that Germany is being hit hard by what's going on with this inflation and pump prices, and they've had to go back to bringing some mothballed coal-firing plants back online to generate the electricity that they need. That is not a good thing. It's not good for anybody. And the other bad part is the gasoline that you're pumping now and paying such an exorbitant price for was refined from crude oil that was brought in more than a year ago to 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago. So they got it very cheaply and they ramped the price up. America is not doing anything to generate an industry-wide fuel supplement. So we are importing 99% of the domestically consumed oil, but there's a little sneaky thing involved with that, and that is 25% of all imported oil has to go into the oil reserves, and Congress has declared that the United States government pays the oil companies $5 per barrel over the market price for everything that has to go into the oil reserves. The other point you can see is it's kind of a game, because take diesel fuel. In the process of refining crude oil into gasoline, diesel fuel is sort of after effect, a waste product. So it's technically the cheapest thing to use or to make out of crude oil, but yet it's got the highest price per gallon. See, we're just getting ripped because certain folk have friends in high places, ranging from Barack Obama, whose trust fund was a major investor in British Petroleum, BP, and energy development, and his stepfather / adopted father was the biggest oil baron in Indonesia, and prior to that, had been international executive vice president for Standard Oil. It's interesting to note his lack of pardons for people, black people, but yet he pardoned 20-some oil executives who worked for BP that his trust fund was a major investor in, who were deemed responsible for that oil rig blowout down in the Gulf. Interesting, but that's the way it goes. And Biden is poor, broke, trailer park trash, urban trailer park trash, who's gotten rich with a public servant salary for his entire adult life. That is a prima facie or a basic indication of being a crook. So we have him in place, and while we whoop-de-doo, be careful what you ask for, you just might get it. Anyway, I pass the mic.
All right, Sean, we appreciate you asking that question. Judge, I had a quick question to ask you. Do you think we're headed to another recession here?
We are. This is the lowest, this is the highest inflation rate in 41 years since the Reagan administration. This is a situation where, for the middle class, their purchasing power is at its lowest in 50-some years. It hasn't been like this since the second year of the Nixon term. It's very bad. It is not going anywhere good, and there doesn't seem to be any way out of this. They have an agenda, and they're pushing that agenda. He promised what he was going to do, and he stuck with it, but we have nothing to do with that agenda. White, black, brown, red, or yellow, middle class, or whatever, we don't have any part in that. So,
was there anything in your opinion that he could have done differently that could have, because a lot of people.
Yeah, any competent administrator had many things he could have done. He kept indicating he might look at it, but he could have simply opened up some of the oil reserves for a different kind of way rather than allowing the oil companies to invade the oil reserves when the prices might have been what was being charged 60, 70, 80 years ago for the oil reserves, where it would have been just a few dollars per barrel. So those oil reserves have been allowed to be invaded, sold at a high pump price for enormous profits rather than used to get dumped into the market and reduce the pump prices. That hasn't been done. That's one thing. Policies in terms of expenditures and what things are being paid for by the federal government, which the Democratic Congress, House, has a lot to do with. And the Democratic Party control of the Senate certainly reinforces that. So it's just been an inept 1, 2, 3, 4 with no concern for economics or financial consequences. It's very bad.
Okay. Cash, you got your hand up. Go ahead and ask the judge a question.
Peace. First and foremost, I wanted to thank the judge. Thank you, Judge, for shouting out your lineage going all the way back to the 1860s. As you can see, my face here says 48, Mr. 40 Acres and isn't a Tesla. But to the conversation we're having now, first and foremost, thank you for shouting out as well that you're going to be running for mayor. I know that there's the moremayors.org website, mayors organizing for reparations and equity, who are setting up pilot programs as a proof of concept, paying Black Americans as a reinvestment in their city. But to this room, I wanted to mention that the California Reparations Task Force, one of their members was on Fox News after a 500-page report about how to, quote unquote, fix the Black community. And Fox News chose to focus specifically on child support. So I wanted to read some of the bullet points that were offered and ask if there's some things that are missing that might further fix our community. It says eliminate past due child support owed to the government for non-custodial parents. Eliminate the collection of child support as a means to reimburse the state for past government assistance. Ensure that all child support payments are provided directly to the custodial parent and child. And it says prohibit the state prison system and local jails from canceling family visits as a form of punishment. I'm sorry, there's one more. It says eliminate the annual interest charge for past due child support. Do you think these things will help our community, or is there a blind spot here that we need to add to it and implement in other states? Thank you.
It sounds good. The only problem is the governors can't do that. It has to be something that's done by the state legislative bodies, House and Senate. So if you can get these things through somebody's legislative body, some of them have potential, but for now, it's just loose talk with nothing to come of it. I've heard this over and over and over. This is my 8th decade of life, so I've heard a lot of it, and very little of it came to pass. One of the big problems, by the way, that's generating the penitentiary industry is because America is not seeing to it that the people have great opportunity to be gainfully employed. Computerization and industrial technology have made a lot of humans obsolete, and this government is unique in the Western world in having absolutely no governmental programs to change that worker obsolescence around. So they use penitentiaries as a warehouse. It's kind of like commodities, wheat, corn, cotton. When you get a glut in a commodity, in this case labor, what you do is three things. Store the surplus, subsidize the would-be producer, and cut back production. We store our labor surplus in a jail cell instead of a grain silo. The subsidies, the welfare check, or public assistance of some kind, and the cutting back of production is to put all sorts of foolishness and wrong ideas in the heads of youth so they bang out, drop out, get knocked up too early, too often, develop inappropriate attitudes, outlooks, way of doing things. They have no vocational skills, no academic performance records. They act crazy. The neighborhoods are chaotic and cannot act cohesively when it comes to political self-help. And when that first felony is obtained, then that person becomes much more unemployable, and eventually they get stored in that warehouse known as a penitentiary, which keeps those folk who value their employment highly pacified so they don't play Timothy McVeigh, buy ammonium nitrate fertilizer, and with $250 worth will blow up the courthouse in Oklahoma City again. So that's what's going on.
Right. Moses, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Newstoter, thanks for the space. Jojo Brown, pleasure to have you on here. Curious to know, can you give the audience here? My question is, can you give us a take on how Black Americans can utilize the legal system to go after departments and local government branches to seek benefits and tangibles that the government are given to Afghanistans and Ukrainians. You know, for example, I've worked in a nonprofit sector, and there's a lot of community organizations that are in Black communities. You expect them to be doing things for Black people, but instead they're doing things for Latinos. So bringing in more Latinos to Black communities, giving Latinos housing. Can you tell the audience here how Black Americans can utilize the legal system to go after these nonprofits to ensure that they're specifically providing benefits for Black Americans? Because I know that it's very possible that we, with the right legal assistance, we can make a case and have the tables turned for Black American benefits in various communities. And my other question is, I know you're running for mayor out of Memphis. More power to you. In that, I want to know how you will be utilizing reparations as on your platform to get that conversation out there and ensure that Memphis is on the right track for reparations. So these are my two questions.
Okay. Let me try and answer them. Okay, the first one, the problem is there's this thing called sovereign immunity. You cannot sue a government unless they give you permission to sue. If there are any civil rights considerations and laws in effect that are involve discrimination, and someone can prove that they are discriminated against as not permitted under the law, then they might have an action. See, generally, you can discriminate against anyone except for race, creed, national origin, religion, sex, age, or medical condition. Now, if you don't like somebody's haircut, you can go after them that way, though in places like New York, they want to forbid that, but that's not federal law. So if there is a rule or a regulation that deals with civil rights, then it gives you standing, go for it. But most of the time, what you're talking about wouldn't be covered under anything. So making law by trying to establish a standing and a cause of action, meaning who are you and why should you be allowed to sue the government, and what is it you're claiming was done wrong? Well, that's kind of novel, but the rest of it is political, 100% political. It's who represents you. And right now, you've got a situation where most of your black representatives have an agenda that they're surrogates for, that they are part of, that has nothing to do with the typical cause perceived by black people or mostly anybody else. Now, locally, what am I going to do? All right, reparations is nice. The only problem is Memphis really doesn't have any way to extend reparations, but the mayor can provide the impetus to bring in a lot of jobs. So instead of people worrying about $15 an hour at a fast food place, they can be arguing about whether $72.18 an hour or $96.15 per hour is more appropriate, and we will have expanded education and a few other things that would come along with that. Reparations is great, but perhaps the city could lend its weight to something to be done by the state. But frankly, up here in Nashville, I don't think they're going to go along with it. So on the national level, yes, pressure can be brought to bear, but the Black Caucus is more interested, frankly, in dealing with rainbow issues than they are with black issues. A lot of them, and I'll be humorous about this, are into the B thing. Unbelting, dropping breeches, dropping boxers, bending, spreading butt cheeks, and getting boy bang, or taking off the bra, getting bloomers dropped, butt on the bench, knees bucked, and beaver bust. So, too many of them have gotten curious, and they're subject to extortion, blackmail.
I think that pretty much sums it up right there in a nutshell. Like, I definitely don't disagree with you on that part. The Black Caucus, I don't even know what their point is of even being together other than just to take up space, but you ain't lying about it.
I can't help this. Every time I see Cory Booker, he looks like he wants to drop on his knees and get a meat popsicle put in his mouth.
Man, the co-host, a kid DJ, he saw him the other day up there in New Jersey. I think it was what was it for the Juneteenth thing, the Juneteenth march up there?
No, it was a reparations march we had up here for reparations for state reparations for New Jersey. How you doing, by the way, Judge? So basically, everything's good, sir. And make sure y'all check out Judge Joe Brown Barbecue. It's right there in the Jumbotron, all right? Look in the Jumbotron. Judge Joe Brown Barbecue. What the big bro? So
that's some good stuff. I ain't gonna lie, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's good.
Yeah, we saw Cory Booker over here in Newark, New Jersey, sir. Or at least I saw him anyway, you know what I mean? And I also saw Coon Roz, Mayor Baraka, who when I told him reparations should be lineage-based, he turned his back on me. And he rolled his eyes, but that's okay. I'll get you on the next one.
Well, he looks like he rolls his eyes a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, for no reason, know what I mean?
Yeah, and he looks like he understands that thing he wants to do about those trannies reading to children in libraries. Yeah, he likes that.
Back on that one, know what I mean? And then I saw your boy Cory Booker. And I told him the same thing. Reparations need to be lineage-based, but when I said that to him, and I said, hey, yo, we trying to get at your girl, Sheila Jackson Lee. She ain't picking up the phone. His eyes bugged out. Like, yeah, you know what it is. Come on, friend.
All right, and then don't forget Reverend Al Sharpton. Every time I see him, he look like he's about to triple. I need a hand. Oh, Lord, please give me a hand. Oh, there's somebody holding my hand on the left. Oh, somebody on the right. We shall overcome someday. Hell, ain't no damn someday getting here. Give me a break. Need to take some damn action instead of eating all that damn chicken, killing all those innocent birds so you can fry their ass up.
Judge, Judge, I gotta ask you this question, and this is completely off topic or whatever, but
I was asked this by my friend, because I told them I was going to have you in the space, whatnot, and they just want to know, like I said, I know this is off topic, but they want to know, like, what's up with the whole, like, Ike Turner and Tina Turner, like, situation you be talking about sometimes.
Look, I grew up in Los Angeles, and every time we saw Ike would be rolling in his Rolls Royce, and he'd have a homeboy with him. So he'd get his homeboy to go take the rolls and bring some burgers and fries and Cokes back. And he'd sit there and talk to us for hours about manning up and going to school, staying straight, not doing drugs. Every time we made a mistake and confused Tina's rolls for his and would say, she'd roll out the window, cuss us out, call us the N-word, get all off in our face and everything else, damn near spit at us. And I saw my own two eyes one time. I got invited to somebody's family picnic, and I was going to Dorsey High at the time playing football. And some of us were on the ball team, so we were outside throwing a football around. So Ike was over there on his knees in the garden with a trowel. So he put the trowel down, dusted his hands off after he pulled his gloves off, came over, shook everybody's hand, told us to stay in school, how the team was doing and all this. And we went back. He hadn't been back 3 or 4 minutes. Tina came running out, cussing and hollering, and he said, "Why don't you stop it? There's some children present." She turned around and cussed at us. She was yelling at him about she needed this song, and she had all kinds of nasty things to say. He said, "Well, it ain't with me today. I'm trying to think about it." She stalked off in the house. Came out a few minutes later, and she picked up this big, heavy rake, the kind where they have the wrought iron heat, not flinty head to it with the big, heavy shaped handle. She took that, and he was working in the garden. She hit him across the back hard. Everybody said, "Damn, I know that hurt." He said, "Woman, what you do that for? You make me sick." She called him the N-word and got the cussing and everything. And she came back out, did it again. So he went in the house, and then she came out running with her shoes off, It's like, hell, she provoked that crap. And there's another thing, too. I used to represent a lot of pimps and hoes in Memphis 40-some years ago. Late 70s, too. And the pimps were in awe of Tina for being the baddest of the breed. And I'll leave it to your imagination. It wasn't as any street hawking, walking hoe, but as a pimp. So that whole shit about Miss Doom, that's just a contrivance of these vicious feminists who hate manhood, particularly black manhood. Now, Ike was on my show with his new wife 2 times. You know what it was for? They set up a rescue program where they would loan women money to get away from an abusive significant other or a spouse. If they got away from it, it was a gift. If they went back to him, it was a loan. And that's what he was in front of me 2 times on. Several $1,000s in each instance extended to women who were getting abused so they could escape. And he told me some years after that, I ran into him at a restaurant called Spago's in Beverly Hills. He said, "Judge, I did not know when they asked me to waive the rights, they were going to lie about me like that." I said, "Sir, look, let me tell you this. I grew up on someone says, well, I remember that era." I said, "Yeah, you talked to me, I don't know how many times about being a man and doing the right thing, and we loved you because you always had something good to say. You always tried to help out, and Tina was always trying to talk about us like we were dogs and calling us that to begin with. So it was wrong what they did to Ike. That's just part of that demonization that they've been trying to pull off about black men. And this crap that jackass in chief in the Oval Office, Jim Crow Joe Biden, was talking about relative to us and child support. Newstoter got it way wrong. We played better than anybody else in America. So we're at the top of the heap doing good. So if anything, instead of bad-mouthing us, the truth be known, we ought to be held up on a pedestal as a role model.
No doubt, no doubt. Carter, I know you had a question that you wanted to ask. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
What's going on, Judge? How you doing?
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. My question isn't directly related to the topic, but I wanted to ask what's your take on the whole immigration thing. I had gotten an email at my job yesterday. They were asking for volunteers to come down to Texas. There was a reimbursable trip to go down to Texas and provide housekeeping and other services while the migrants go through processing. That's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, these sanctuary cities, do ICE have any power in these cities? I'm not too familiar as to how the laws work in these cities.
Been talking about impeachment grounds. Biden and his administration are on thin ice because these officers have an obligation to uphold their oath to obey and carry out the law. That they're being ordered not to follow the law has already been held by some federal courts to be illegal orders. So the Constitution of the United States, Article 1, says the Commander-in-Chief, the Chief Administrative Officer of the United States / the President has an obligation to enforce the laws of the United States, etc., and he shall do so. It does not give him permission to disobey them. Now, this is a place that has always had immigration, but there are legal ways to do it, and I demand as a citizen that these legal methods be followed. We also have a move afoot in places like New York where they are allowing in local elections aliens who are not citizens to vote in those elections. And places like California have ruined the situation when it comes to airline travel, so that but for COVID, you would need a license with that star in the upper left-hand corner, a driver's license, because California is specifically issuing driver's licenses to illegals. So your driver's license that used to be firm evidence that you were a U.S. citizen has been tarnished now thanks to California and New York issuing those licenses to illegals. See, what is that about? That's so that this group of leftists can control the government. By the way, that's that whole thing about not being able to ask if you're a citizen on the last census. Now, Article 1 of the Constitution says every 10 years a census will be conducted, the primary purpose of which is to determine appropriate apportionment of representation in the House of Representatives. So they are trying to do a weird thing that we haven't seen in this country since slavery, where they get a number of people counted toward determining how many representatives get in Congress, and then turn around and not allow the people who are part of that count to vote. See, these illegals would not be able to vote, but they will allow California, for example, not to lose congressmen, but to pick some up, so that that particular mindset with Nancy Pelosi, Senator Feinstein, Kamala Harris Imhoff would be fostered on the country. That's what that's all about. So legal immigrants, fine. Illegal immigrants, hell no. That's a crime. They need to be treated as criminals, and there's all kinds of nasty stuff coming across the borders. There are massive quantities of fentanyl, heroin now, all sorts of hard drugs. Al-Qaeda and ISIS can just walk across the border without even have to sneak. It is very bad. There is an HIV epidemic that's developing behind what's coming across the border. For goodness sakes, all sorts of things being waved in. You've got child abusers, you've got pedophiles, you've got sex abusers. ICE said there were 11,000 sex abusers that had been identified that they had to release into the American population who had illegally crossed. See, all kinds of things bad are happening. We need to stop it. I pass the mic.
Absolutely. If you guys have not, all you guys in the space, make sure you are following Newstoter. Make sure you are following Newstoter. Definitely, we keep you up to date with content. I want to give a shout out. We have the real Dana. She's in the actual space as well. So if you guys have been on YouTube, you may have seen her show, and she has Judge Joe Brown on there all the time. I would recommend that you go ahead and please follow this sister on YouTube. She has a great show. I am one of her subscribers as well, and I love the content put out. It's definitely her and Judge Joe Brown. They make a great tandem, a great pair. So if you guys get a chance, go to YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to The Real Dana. Also follow her here on Twitter as well. I believe she's doing Twitter Spaces now as well. And DJ, I sent you a DM to go ahead and contact Dana when you get a chance. Dana, he's going to contact you about trying to go ahead and show you how to do the screen recorder. So please go ahead and follow the sister. Support her on YouTube. Support her Cash App. And while you support her Cash App, also make sure you support Newstoter's Cash App. That is $Newstoter. Newstoter is the premier and the largest black-owned platform news curation media outlet in America. We put out more content, curate more content from black media sources, black blogs, black owners, everything than anybody else. So make sure you're supporting us. And once again, that is $Newstoter. Go ahead and support black-owned business. We always talk about supporting black-owned business. Well, Newstoter supports other black-owned news bloggers, lifestyle, women blogs, you name it. We support it all. So go ahead and support us. You can support us by PayPal or Venmo. The link is in the Jumbotron. Mr. Engaging, go ahead and unmute your mic, brother.
Thank you, brother, for giving me space to speak. How's it going, Judge Joe Brown? Honorable Judge Joe Brown. I'm doing blessed talking to one of the greatest judges I know, next to that other brother that was locking up the white supremacists. We all know who he is, Judge Olu Stevens. With that being said, I just want to talk to you about something in regard to inflations and stuff that's been going on. One of the brothers I know was dropping jewels saying that Russia was talking about they wanted to go after the Nazis and all this other stuff and make this a worldwide effort. If they were to give us a care package like we giving care package to Ukraine to combat these type of situations, should we participate in those type of things to try to combat inflation and stuff of that nature? Because it's starting to get to that level.
The Chinese are going to step in a short while and knock the inflation down. They own more American dollars than the U.S. Treasury does. And one of the things that inflation is trying to engender is to reduce the value of the Chinese dollar holdings. They also are a sovereign investor, which means that a government can, as an entity, buy stock and acquire financial holdings. And they have enormous holdings in the stock exchanges around the world. They basically stabilize every one of them now, including Wall Street, so our sharks don't get too far out of hand. That being the case, I think they're going to have to step in either behind the scenes or openly to bring things back in check. And essentially, if you got a chance to see what has been suppressed on those tapes, particularly the White House tapes that were on Hunter Biden's or are on Hunter's laptop that have now been acknowledged, you can hear Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Hunter Biden talking to the representative of the Chinese company in the Oval Office, and they're being guaranteed a $10 million bribe apiece to back the U.S. Navy off of firm and aggressive counter-patrolling in the South China Sea and a few other things. So, yeah, it could get interesting, but inflation has to be controlled, but I think the Chinese are going to have to intervene to do it.
Well, like you said, they own so much of the American debt right now. I mean, they pretty much got America by the short and curlies. KC, go ahead, unmute your mic. Ask a question.
Good evening, Your Honor. It is a pleasure to finally get to speak to you, sir. How are you?
How are you, sir?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you. I was wondering if I could get your opinion on this farce of a civil trial that Bill Cosby was just found guilty of. I would like to know how in the world a woman can make a claim of sexual impropriety some almost 50 years later with no evidence, no DNA, no witnesses, just a bunch of hearsay, and be compensated for that beyond the bench, who is so blatantly biased as to send a jury back after they have made a decision to come up with something else.
Well, there are some questions in there. One of them that is the strongest interesting thing is an equal protection argument, wherein you have a statute of limitations of 2 years on a personal injury in California, but it had it expanded to go back, 46 years on an allegation, because it is a certain category of allegation. And that might be a strong thing for appeal. Plus 500,000 is something that Mr. Cosby could afford to pay without blinking an eye. I shared I had a green room he once had when I was doing this for CBS/Paramount, this show. And $500,000 seems like a lot of money to a lot of people, but he and I were making this in a matter of hours. So how many hours you work a week, work a year, and you just take a few of those hours and you could pay it off as a nuisance. But Dr. Cosby was trying to make a point, and he may still be able to make it because we still have the appellate process. So just like with the criminal matter, I said from day one, before it even started, they had a Fifth Amendment problem here and a guaranteed immunity by the DA's office that another DA revoked, which he can't do, and that's what the appellate court said. No, you're not going to have that happen. Bang, it's out of here. We may have that happen here, but it is what it is for right now. So 500,000 is chicken change, but still, 46 years ago, there's another principle. It's called equity, where there's no specific law on something, and it's called latches, which means enough is enough. If you didn't have the gumption to bring something until 45 years after the fact, it's too damn late.
True indeed. True indeed. We're going to be winding down the space, so we're going to take a couple more questions. The judge has had a long day, so we're going to be going ahead. We're going to let Insane go. Mr. Engaging, you had your hand up. You put it down. Are you still trying to go, or? Okay. Well, hold on. This is how the order. We're going to go Insane. We'll go Mr. Engaging, then we'll go Quad, and we'll go DJ. So, and let's make the questions maybe about a minute or two.
All right. Hello. I want to say thanks to Newstoter and Kadar for hosting the space, and I want to say thank you to the guest, the Honorable Judge Joe Brown. My question centers around child support, and I'm sure you probably maybe touched on it. But one of the things that I've heard about child support, which I think is really interesting. I do not have kids, first of all, but the idea of some sort of co-op model that would take a lot of administrators out of the system, and monies could go more directly from the individual paying the child support to the recipient. And my second question deals with the petrodollar, the ruble being backed by gold, and Germany and Italy, as I have read it, are now paying for their gas via a liaison in rubles.
So can you perhaps offer some insight on how that's going to affect cost of living here as the petrodollar seems to go into demise? Thank you.
Right now, as long as the United States of America possesses nuclear ballistic missile submarines, the dollar will remain the controlling currency. The Chinese medium of exchange is in second place, and both of them have an interest in propping each other up to stabilize the world's currency, even if the current American administration in D.C. doesn't get it. Now, the gold standard, that's not going to wash. There's a very good reason why. There's a finite supply of gold in the world. If you put it in one pile, you took away a bunch of it because people have buried it and hoarded it. Well, that's only so much gold to go around, but what happens if somebody's investments increase in value? The way things are now, there wouldn't be enough gold to make up for the increase in value, and the gold itself would generate massive deflation in value of existing. So that's not a very good thing. So let's not worry about the gold. Hell, if the government's powerful enough, if they wanted to use ice cream sticks as currency and they could prevent them from being counterfeited, that would do fine too. But anyway, the paper a dollar is printed on is worth more than the equivalent amount of gold, because gold, everybody knows how to get it if you can find it, but not everybody knows how to make that special paper, nor those mylar strips that are embedded in the bills.
Definitely good question. That good question, Mr. Engaging. Go ahead and ask your question. Unmute your mic.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Hi, Judge, again. One of the questions I wanted to ask. Oh, good. I'm glad that you're doing all right, sir. I'm doing all right as well. I just want to inform you that, I talked to some of my legislators, and I was trying to figure out ways to attract black officers into ICE. What are ways that we can be able to do that in an equitable manner and be able to push that as a policy so we can get more black people into that agency per se?
First off, somebody's got to apply. Secondly, Title VII applies. Race, color, creed, national origin, religion, sex, age, medical condition. And you would expect the number of black folk who are ultimately hired by that organization, ICE, immigration, customs enforcement, to reflect the percentage of the population. So we have to have somebody applying and somebody getting turned down. Also, you can help it out by kicking the Democrats' ass so they lose badly in these midterms and they don't control the House of Representatives, so we can get sanity in there. And I think you'd find that the Republican Party would be very receptive to doing things now to generate some black support, which would have fallout on the employment posture of various federal agencies that need to hire people. By the way, as long as we're trapped in this thing of always voting for the Democratic Party, no matter what they don't do for us, and always voting against the Republican Party, no matter what they might do for us, then we get nothing because nobody has anything to gain by paying attention to us. The Democrats get our votes irrespective of what they do or do not, and the Republicans won't get our votes irrespective of what they do or do not. So it's a zero-sum game for us, so we have to reverse that. Every other ethnic group in the country's history periodically just votes against the party that's expecting their votes just to keep them on their toes.
All right, Mr. Gage, and we're going to move on because we're getting ready to close it out. So we're going to move on to the next two speakers. That's Quad and that's DJ. Go ahead, Quad, and unmute your mic.
Hey, Judge, hold on. Question. Speaking about individuals who don't do anything for us, we touched on the Black Caucus earlier. How do we get rid of them? Like, how do we disband that institution? Because
vote them out. Don't stay home. Look. Sometimes you have to hold your nose and stop thinking lesser of two evils and start thinking in terms of heightening the contradiction so you can see what's really going on. I'm just saying, screw you. I don't like what you're doing. I'm going to vote for anybody for you, even if I have to write the doggy. But a good way to do it is hold your nose, take a deep breath first, and vote for the other guys, whoever they may be, and think of yourself as an independent. But turn these jerks out so they get the message that they can't take us for granted anymore.
Thanks.
DJ, go ahead and ask your question so we can go ahead and we're going to close it out because we know the judges had a long day, so we're going to go ahead and close the space down in a second. So go ahead.
For sure, yeah, no more questions, Judge. I just want to say every time you tell that Ike and Tina story, it get funnier and funnier and funnier every time.
I know, right?
My ribs on fire. But I did see some Kamala Harris meme pictures. I think you'll be real interested in, sir. So go ahead and check your DM when you get a chance, all right? Seg 1.
Will do. I'll do that in the morning.
For sure. And then everybody, make sure you get in the Jumbotron. Go towards Judge Joe Brown barbecue sauce. Tell us real quick, Judge, about the sauce real quick.
Well, I'm into providing service and selling sauce, so I want you to be the judge. Judge Joe Brown, that's JJB Barbecue, BBQ. JJBBBQ.com. Go there and order yourself some. It'll be on the shelves of various retail establishments before long, but get a jump since the summer is fast approaching. Hell, it's here. And it's great barbecue sauce. I would just thin it down half and half with malt vinegar or beer or red wine, but it's good as it is. It's even tasty on French fries. We have powder and seasoning. We have chicken links smoked and raw. We have them hot and mild, and we've got some other stuff, and it's all good. So you be the judge. Check it out, and I think you will find it's the best damn sauce you've ever had. JJBBBQ.com. And I am running for mayor of Memphis next year, so that will be JJB in 2023 for mayor of Memphis, Tennessee. Send Brown downtown.
That's a nice little slogan. I like that, Judge. And I'm definitely hoping you can go ahead and that would definitely upset the apple cart if a man like you became the actual mayor of Memphis. I know Memphis is predominantly black city, so I mean that would definitely boost the morale in the city, and actually have somebody that actually has some heart. Definitely would love to see that happen. Definitely will support you as much as we can. I'm here in Florida, but I definitely throw my support behind you. I don't know how much that'll matter, but we definitely be boosting your presence up here on social media as much as we can. And once again, I just want to thank you for coming to the space again. I know you have such a busy schedule, and the fact that you can even just make time to come in here and just kick it with us. I mean, that is really a great thing, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the mentorship that you show us all, and the extra history and the news, and how you just break down things, and you're able to just decipher the information. That is always a bonus and always a plus. As long as whenever you have time and you have any time free time, we would love to have you on in the Twitter space. I know that's not always going to work out because you have a very busy schedule, but I'm just glad that you was able to come in here tonight. And once again, I mean, this is the third time you've been in our Twitter space, and every time you come, everybody they're excited and they're waiting to see you and they're waiting to hear from you. So I just want to let you know that from me and all the co-hosts and all of the speakers and everybody, the listeners in here, we all appreciate you coming in and just sharing this information with us. And just once again, I mean, not only was it knowledgeable, but it's always entertaining as well. So I appreciate that. And for all you guys out there, please go ahead and buy the Judge's sauce, like he said. Definitely see what that sauce is about.
is from Memphis. Memphis is supposed to have some of the best barbecue in the country. Also, for you guys that's in the space, make sure you're following us. Once again, I'm going to say it. Follow us on Twitter. If you want to stay informed with Black information and news, you need to follow Newstoter. And you also go ahead and support us. We always talk about supporting Black-owned business and why we don't have Black-owned business and why we don't have a media that shows us this and that and this light and this light. Well, you got Newstoter. So if you want to keep having positive images, if you want to have breaking news, if you want to have that analysis and the critiques that we supply, go ahead and just, if you have $1, go ahead and support Newstoter and Cash App. That's $ Cash App. Just $1. If you don't have $1, then you can support any other way, but we would definitely appreciate that donation. And on that note, we're going to let Judge Joe Brown and the rest of the family say good night. We appreciate him coming in. And you guys, we have a Twitter space tomorrow, and it's going to be about welfare and immigrants. So make sure, I'm going to be sending that out. So make sure you guys all come on, because it's going to be talking about the actual breakdown of the actual immigrants, non-citizens who actually get the bulk of welfare benefits in this country. So you guys make sure you come tomorrow, because we're going to be breaking that down.
Let me add one thing. Check me out and The Real Dana on that Real Dana show. It's on YouTube. We usually do something on Thursday and again on Sunday afternoon. And on the Judge Joe Brown show with Valerie Denise, that always records 4 through 6 Eastern Daylight Time. It'll be posted on my Twitter site, which is at Judge Joe Brown TV, and I don't have a blue deck. So everybody have a great evening. Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Judge. And you guys have a good night. And like I say, tomorrow the conversation is going to be on non-citizens and immigrants reaping the benefits of welfare. So we will see you guys tomorrow. And thank you guys who all came in. We appreciate you guys coming in. Thank you to everybody who has donated on Cash App. And to those who didn't, we still appreciate you coming in. Thank you to Roro and the rest of you guys. And we will see you tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.
All right.
Peace out.